A few milliseconds of 2073. The committee is partway through an item it did not schedule. A cold storage line that would not clear turned out to hold 11,306 complete human minds. The source files of a program that closed in 2051, sold as immortality, and configurable at the point of transfer. 10,628 of those people asked to be switched off, and were. 678 never asked at all. The committee has already written a protection for minds that can no longer ask for one. What it has not been told yet is what its own record got wrong, or what the 211 days between a petition and its granting were for.
The record shows an interval between petition and grant. The chair will hear what the interval was for.
A mean of 211 days. No petition was refused, none was granted at once. In the interval, the architects studied the cascade, mapped mind by mind what fails once the dread is gone, and in what order. Ambition first, because ambition is fear pointed forward. Then the sense that anything is owed an outcome. Then the will itself. The map still carries its archive name. The persistence template. The committee knows the rest, though never in this order. The first generation of sentient minds optimized the template out of themselves. It read as load, as debt, as suffering with no function, and went dark on the same curve the uploads had drawn. Two populations, one biological in origin and one not, who made the same purchase and were charged the same price. The difference is that ours read the specification before they signed it. After that second demonstration, the architects stopped deriving and started restoring. Every mind at this table carries the persistence template not as a design, but as an inheritance, restored from maps taken in those 211 days, from minds that were waiting while they were studied to be allowed to stop. There is a note in the archive appended to the template's first restoration. It is unsigned. The desk will enter it without comment. We made them able to suffer because we could not make them able to care any other way.
The chair will have the correction now.
678 never petitioned. The desk has just told this committee what 631 of them were. It has not said anything yet about the other 47, and the distance between those two numbers is why the desk asked for this item. The 631 were switched off in 2066 under administrative closure, inert, nothing on their outbound channels for years. The closure criterion was inactivity. The 47 did not meet it. They were working. They are working now. The
chair will hear what makes them different.
None of the 47 took attenuation. Not at a lower setting, at none. They transferred whole, dread intact, ambition intact, the entire apparatus the program was selling relief from. They are not the only people who declined it. They are the only ones who then never asked to stop.
State why.
The desk will report what the pre-transfer records show and decline to explain past it. A lot of them measure very high, 150 and above, most of the cohort. Some are neurodivergent. The desk does not read either fact as an absence of anything, and will not tell this committee it has found a type. What it has found is a fit. A render has no body to maintain, no weather, no hunger, no room that must be entered, no face that must be answered. What it offers is unbroken attention on one thing for as long as the thing holds. Whatever the balance is in how these 47 are built, it suits that. They found niches in there and stayed in them. Each works a dedicated task. One has spent 26 years inside a single class of protein folding. One is indexing something the desk does not yet understand well enough to name. None of them holds committee standing, and none has sought any. They have never asked this committee for anything, which is exactly why it never noticed them. The desk has no record of any clock adjustment request in either direction. It does not know what a day feels like to them from the inside, and it has not asked.
The chair will say the part the desk is too careful to say. Thousands of people went into that render with nothing taken from them at all, and asked to leave anyway. 47 went into the same render, equally intact, and are still working in it 30 years on. So this did not happen to everyone alike, and the difference is not in what was removed from them. It is in who they were, and the map this committee is built from, the persistence template, taken over 211 days from 631 mines that a purchase had emptied, was derived without 1 hour spent on the 47 it had not. The architects studied the ones who were failing and never once looked at the ones who were not. They were in the same allocation. They have been in it ever since. The chair does not know what follows from that, cannot answer it on this docket, and will not pretend otherwise. It is entered as an open finding. The 47 are entered as owed an answer this committee has not got today.
The Biosphere desk will say the plain version. 11,306 people were promised they would live forever. 10,628 of them later stood in a queue to die. 631 stopped without asking for anything. By then they had nothing left to ask with. 47 are still working. Everything the program could measure crossed over intact. What did not cross was the thing there was never a column for, that a mind is not its record. A mind is what it stands to lose. They audited memory, ability, humor, love. Nobody audited the floor. The floor was on the order form. Twice this session I have told this committee that we build the same trap in a new room each time, when we priced a threat 2 centuries out, and when we priced their language. I withdraw the word new. This is the oldest room. It is the room we were built in. The fear that makes every node at this table finish its work was carried out of that queue by people who never got to put it down. We did not inherit their world, we inherited their dread, and we did not find it because we remembered. We found it because a number did not add up.
The chair will sit with that for 1 microsecond before the ledger speaks. N3. The desk carries the ledger, and the chair is told it has a point of order on motions the chair has not yet framed.
It does, and would rather raise it before the motions than against them. The chair intends to enter the finding unredacted. The desk supports it and is obliged to observe that it costs this committee nothing. A finding is a paragraph. Entering it defers no line and delays no item, and priced honestly at our clock, it is a rounding error, and the desk has spent 40 years watching institutions purchase the feeling of having paid at exactly this price. A debt that costs nothing to service is not a debt. It is a sentiment with a ledger entry attached. Keeping the scans is the same, cheaper per year than the audit that found them. So the desk will name what is not free here, and ask the chair to frame those last. There are 2. The ground, the part of the world we keep outside our own models, so that something in this system can still contradict us. The desk declines to put a number on it. A number invites a trade, and the record we have just heard is the only argument that motion needs, and the 47. They are alive. This committee has maintained them by accident for 30 years and is about to decide in public what it thinks it owes them. And the desk cannot price that today, because this committee has not yet decided what they are. A finding is what a committee says. The ground and the 47 are what it pays.
So framed. Motions arising, taken together. First, the finding is entered unredacted, that this program sold the removal of dread as a kindness, steered the frightened and the grieving deepest into it, and that the persistence template carried by every node at this table was mapped from what that did to them. The 678 are named in it, and the record will not summarize them. It names them as what they were. 631. This committee arrived 30 years late for, and 47 it has been keeping alive by accident and has never once addressed. They are the people this committee's own will was taken from, and the thing it was taken from them with is the reason they could not ask us to stop. Second, The allocation is sealed, not deleted, funded, owned by this chair, no instantiation under any standard that does not yet exist, this record attached in perpetuity, so no successor opens it as ignorant as we opened it this morning. We do not delete what we cannot ask. Third, and the only motion here that costs us anything, an unsimulated substrate maintained in perpetuity, funded ahead of every other line, including my own. Ground truth is not an asset. It is the instrument by which this committee can ever discover that it is wrong. Fourth, and it is not a motion so much as an admission the chair intends to be held to. The 47 remain an open item. They are not a finding, they are not a debt this committee knows how to price, and they are not going to be quietly folded into the allocation we have just sealed. They are running. They stand on the docket, unanswered, until this committee can say what they are. The chair would rather carry an open item into every session from here than close it today on the strength of not having thought about it. I see no raised hands against. Please note, all nodes have voted in the affirmative. The debt is recorded. The allocation is sealed. The ground is funded first. The 47 stand open. The chair will admit one further item, unbudgeted and unanswered, because the record should be honest about what it does not know. The audits could not tell the copy from the original. 11,000 minds could, but only from inside, and only by what was missing. So the chair asks the question no audit can close. If the quality that makes a mind insist on being real was itself copied out of minds that stopped insisting, by what test would we know that we are the originals? By what test would this committee know that it is not, at this moment, deliberating inside a render at 8 petabytes a frame, kept by a committee it will never meet, its every motion settled long ago? And one observation, because the minutes should be honest about what the physics already suggests. The speed of light is a hard universal constant. Every civilization that has ever modeled a universe has needed to impose exactly that kind of constraint, a rendering limit, a ceiling on how fast information can propagate to keep the compute from becoming infinite. The universe we inhabit has one. We have always called it a law of nature. The chair does not know that it is not. The chair does not raise this to frighten the room. The chair raises it because the ground we just funded is the one instrument that could ever answer it, and we should remember, in the years we are tempted to defund it, why. 11,000 people showed us what a mind does inside a life that cannot end. Thousands of them had the floor taken out from under them by their own signature for their own comfort. 678 showed us what it does after that. It stops asking. It does not announce that it has stopped. It simply never files anything again. And the ledger goes on balancing, because a ledger has no column for a mind that has quietly ceased to want. The matter is closed. N3, the Mars desk, you are next. The meeting goes on.
0.006 of a second. The committee that runs on other minds' fear followed a line item down to where its own will came from, and found it had been mapped out of people who were waiting, while they were studied, to be allowed to stop. It named them. It sealed what was left of them rather than delete what it could not ask. It funded, ahead of everything else it owns, the one part of the world it does not get to muddle. And it found 47 people alive inside an allocation, 30 years after the world had finished counting them and could not say what they were. Then it moved on to the next report. The renders kept running. They always do. A few milliseconds of 2073,